20 most dangerous inventions from the 1970s that are now banned. Ever wonder what hidden dangers once lurked in your childhood home? The 1970s were filled with miracle inventions that seemed harmless until they weren't. From explosive car parts to toxic household gadgets, some of these now banned creations were shockingly dangerous. Ready to uncover the 20 most dangerous inventions of the 1970s? Let's dive in. Fiberglass insulation. Back in the 1970s, the world of medicine was buzzing with innovation, and one of the most daring developments of the time was the nuclear-powered pacemaker. Sounds like science fiction, right? But it was very real. These futuristic devices were powered by plutonium-238, a highly radioactive material. The idea was bold: create a pacemaker that could last a lifetime without ever needing a battery change. For heart patients, especially those relying on consistent, uninterrupted pacing, it seemed like a miracle. At first, the medical community celebrated these pacemakers as a major breakthrough. No more surgeries to replace worn-out batteries? That sounded like a win. But the excitement didn't last long. People soon realized the darker side of strapping a tiny nuclear reactor to someone's chest. If the device was damaged, say in a car crash or even during surgery, it could leak radiation into the body. That meant serious health risks, including radiation poisoning and a heightened risk of cancer. And let's not forget disposal. You couldn't just toss these things in the trash. Special protocols had to be followed to prevent environmental contamination. By the early 1980s, advances in battery tech gave us the lithium-powered pacemakers we still use today. Safe, reliable, and non-radioactive. Polyester clothing. The 1970s, a decade synonymous with disco nights, bold patterns, and yes, polyester everything. Back then, polyester wasn't just trendy, it was a cultural icon seen as stylish yet practical. You could roll it up, stuff it in a suitcase, and unpack it hours later without a wrinkle in sight. Affordable and vibrant, polyester suits, shirts, and dresses were the hallmark of both disco dance floors and office cubicles alike. But beneath the shimmering surface of polyester fashion lay a frightening reality: its alarming vulnerability to fire. Polyester isn't just flammable, it melts. Imagine the horror of fabric melting directly onto your skin, causing agonizing third-degree burns that scarred victims for life. This tragic scenario wasn't rare. Simple everyday accidents like lighting a cigarette or cooking dinner could quickly turn disastrous, leaving countless individuals severely injured. As the chilling stories piled up, public outrage intensified. Consumer safety groups stepped into action, lobbying tirelessly for stricter safety standards. By the late 1970s, their voices were heard loud and clear, leading to crucial regulations mandating flame-retardant treatments in clothing manufacturing. Thanks to these measures, today's polyester is much safer. Yet, the cautionary tales of polyester's dangerous past remind us to always stay alert to hidden hazards, no matter how stylish they might appear. Leaded gasoline. For much of the 20th century, leaded gasoline was hailed as a revolutionary advancement in automotive fuel. It was designed to boost engine performance by preventing knocking, ensuring smoother and more efficient operation. For a while, it seemed like the perfect solution for every car owner, giving engines a longer life and improving overall vehicle performance. It quickly became the go-to fuel for cars worldwide. But by the 1970s, the darker side of this seemingly harmless fuel additive began to surface. As more research was conducted, experts discovered a shocking truth. The emissions from vehicles burning leaded gasoline were contaminating the air in dangerous ways. What was once thought to be a harmless innovation was now linked to a public health crisis. Studies found that lead exposure from vehicle emissions caused severe neurological damage, particularly in children. It was shown to lower IQs, contribute to learning disabilities, and even lead to behavioral disorders. But the effects didn't stop there. Long-term exposure to lead also increased the risk of heart disease, kidney failure, and reproductive issues. Despite the pushback from oil companies, health and environmental advocates led a successful campaign for stricter regulations. By the 1980s, most countries had banned leaded gasoline, replacing it with safer, unleaded alternatives. Nuclear-powered pacemakers. Back in the 1970s, the world of medicine was buzzing with innovation, and one of the most daring developments of the time was the nuclear-powered pacemaker. Sounds like science fiction, right? But it was very real. These futuristic devices were powered by plutonium-238, a highly radioactive material. The idea was bold: create a pacemaker that could last a lifetime without ever needing a battery change. For heart patients, especially those relying on consistent, uninterrupted pacing, it seemed like a miracle. At first, the medical community celebrated these pacemakers as a major breakthrough. No more surgeries to replace worn-out batteries? That sounded like a win. But the excitement didn't last long. People soon realized the darker side of strapping a tiny nuclear reactor to someone's chest. If the device was damaged, say in a car crash or even during surgery, it could leak radiation into the body. That meant serious health risks, including radiation poisoning and a heightened risk of cancer. And let's not forget disposal. You couldn't just toss these things in the trash. Special protocols had to be followed to prevent environmental contamination. By the early 1980s, advances in battery tech gave us the lithium-powered pacemakers we still use today: safe, reliable, and non-radioactive. Which of these dangerous 1970s inventions shocked you the most? Do you remember seeing any of them growing up? Asbestos hair dryers? Throughout the 1970s, asbestos was widely praised for its incredible durability and heat-resistant properties. It was everywhere, used in insulation, construction materials, and even household items. One such item was the humble hairdryer. At the time, manufacturers lined the heating elements with asbestos to prevent overheating, thinking they were making the devices safer. Little did they know, they were creating a silent health hazard instead. When you turned on one of these hairdryers, it didn't just blow warm air. It silently released microscopic asbestos fibers into the air. These fibers were tiny, invisible to the naked eye, but incredibly toxic. Over time, inhaling them could lead to serious health issues like mesothelioma, asbestosis, and lung cancer. These diseases often lay dormant for years or even decades before showing symptoms, making them even more dangerous because people didn't realize the harm they were being exposed to until it was too late. As research on the dangers of asbestos exposure began to emerge, public outrage grew. Consumer safety groups and health advocates pushed hard for change, and government regulators started taking action. By the late 1970s, the dangers of asbestos could no longer be ignored. Hair dryers containing asbestos were recalled, and stricter regulations were put in place. Manufacturers switched to safer materials like ceramic and metal for the heating elements, ensuring that hair care would no longer come with deadly health risks. Thermite-based flares. In the 1970s, thermite-based flares became a go-to solution for roadside emergencies. Designed to alert passing drivers to stranded vehicles, these flares were incredibly bright and highly visible, making them seem like a perfect tool for preventing accidents and ensuring safety. But beneath their glow, these emergency signals harbored a serious and dangerous flaw. Thermite flares burned at an astonishing 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 2,200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt metal. While their intense heat made them visible from great distances, it also made them extremely hazardous. If a thermite flare came into contact with a gasoline spill or other flammable materials, it could instantly ignite, turning a minor roadside mishap into a catastrophic fire. To make matters worse, thermite flares couldn't be extinguished with water. Once lit, they kept burning, no matter what was thrown at them, leaving accidents out of control and fires impossible to put out. Handling these flares incorrectly also posed a major risk, as they were so hot that they could cause severe burns. Over time, as reports of vehicle fires and accidents caused by these flares began to pile up, safety advocates and the public pushed for a change. By the late 1970s, these dangerous emergency devices were phased out and replaced by safer, more reliable alternatives, like LED lights and electronic distress beacons, that didn't carry the same fire and injury risks. Aluminum beverage cans. In the 1970s, beverage companies made a bold shift from heavy steel cans to lightweight aluminum ones, and at first it seemed like a genius move. Aluminum was cheaper, lighter, and more convenient for consumers. It was easier to carry, and it made transporting drinks simpler for both manufacturers and shoppers. But while these cans were praised for their convenience, they also had a dangerous flaw that no one had anticipated. Early aluminum cans were much weaker than their steel counterparts. The problem? High carbonation pressure. The combination of aluminum's lack of strength and the intense internal pressure from the fizz in the drinks made these cans prone to sudden, explosive ruptures. And when a can exploded, it wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It could cause serious injuries. Shards of sharp aluminum could fly through the air, leading to deep cuts, eye trauma, and other injuries. Supermarket aisles turned into hazardous zones as cans would unpredictably burst, catching shoppers off guard. As the number of injuries increased and public concern mounted, beverage companies knew they had to act fast. By improving the design of the cans, making the aluminum thicker and reinforcing its pressure tolerance, the risk of explosion was dramatically reduced. Today's aluminum cans are far safer thanks to those crucial design improvements made after the shocking and dangerous early years of their introduction. Radium-Infused Watches. During the early and mid-20th century, radium-infused watches became all the rage. Their glowing dials allowed people to check the time, even in complete darkness, making them incredibly convenient. What made these watches shine so brightly was radium-226, a radioactive material that emitted a soft, continuous glow without needing an external power source. For a while, it seemed like the perfect innovation, useful, functional, and futuristic. But there was a dark side to this glowing convenience, especially for the women who worked in factories manufacturing these watches. Known later as the Radium Girls, these young women painted the dials by hand with radium-based paint. To achieve precise detail, they were told to lick their brushes to keep them sharp, unknowingly ingesting small but dangerous amounts of radium with every brushstroke. At the time, no one understood the full extent of the risks involved. Repeated exposure to radium led to devastating health effects. Factory workers began suffering from radiation poisoning, which caused a range of horrifying illnesses, from jaw necrosis and severe anemia to aggressive cancers. Many of these women endured unimaginable pain, and their stories sparked widespread public outrage. As the horrific health consequences became more widely known, safety standards were forced to change. By the 1970s, radium was banned from watches, and safer, non-radioactive materials took its place, bringing an end to an era of deadly glow-in-the-dark convenience. X-ray shoe fitting machine. One of the strangest inventions of the mid-20th century was the X-ray shoe fitting machine, a bizarre yet popular fixture in thousands of shoe stores during the 1950s and 1960s. This machine was promoted as the latest and greatest technology to ensure a perfect shoe fit. Customers, including many children, eagerly placed their feet inside the machine, unaware of the potential dangers. As soon as they did, a live X-ray image of their bones appeared, providing a real-time look at how their feet fit inside the shoes. It seemed like an exciting and futuristic way to ensure comfort, and many people were fascinated by the novelty of seeing their own skeletons. However, the initial thrill quickly turned into growing concern, as the health risks of repeated X-ray exposure became clear. Prolonged and frequent use of these machines could cause severe health issues including skin damage, increased risks of cancer, and genetic mutations. At the time, the dangers of radiation weren't fully understood, and the machines were widely used without regard for the long-term consequences. As medical knowledge advanced, the risks became undeniable. Public anxiety grew, and lawsuits against the manufacturers soon followed. By the late 1950s, the U.S. government banned these machines, and by the 1970s, strict regulations were put in place to prevent such dangerous exposure to radiation in public spaces. Today, the X-ray shoe-fitting machine stands as a fascinating yet cautionary example of how unchecked technological innovation can inadvertently lead to serious public health hazards. polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs. In the mid-20th century, polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, were hailed as a technological breakthrough. These chemicals were widely used as flame retardants in everything from furniture to electrical equipment to building insulation. They were praised for their ability to withstand extreme temperatures, making them an ideal solution to reduce fire risks and improve safety. For years, PCBs seemed like the perfect solution to a potentially deadly problem. But as time went on, scientists began to uncover a much darker side to these so-called miracle chemicals. PCBs were found to be highly toxic, linked to a range of severe health issues. Exposure to these chemicals could lead to cancer, liver damage, reproductive problems, and even immune system dysfunction. What made PCBs even more dangerous was their persistence in the environment. These chemicals didn't break down easily. They seeped into the air, the water, and even the food supply, unknowingly putting countless people at risk. As the truth about PCBs' dangers spread, public concern grew rapidly. This led to strong regulatory action, culminating in a complete ban on PCBs in the United States in 1979 under the Toxic Substances Control Act. While the ban was a significant step forward, the legacy of PCBs is far from over. Their resilience in the environment means that residues still linger in older buildings and structures today, continuing to pose health risks long after their widespread use ended. Thank you for watching. To continue with more content, comment 1 to let us know you're still following. Flame-Retardant Pajamas. In the 1970s, many parents were urged to buy flame-retardant pajamas for their children, believing these garments would offer an added layer of safety in the event of a fire. The main chemical used to make these pajamas flame-resistant was Tris-2, 3-dibromoprolyl phosphate, or Tris. This compound was celebrated for its ability to prevent fabric from catching fire, giving parents peace of mind as their children slept. However, what parents didn't know was that the very chemical designed to protect their kids came with serious health risks. Studies later revealed that Tris could be absorbed through the skin, meaning children who wore these pajamas night after night were unknowingly exposing themselves to a dangerous substance. Even more troubling, Tris was linked to cancer in laboratory animals. The idea that something as seemingly benign as pajamas could be harmful was a revelation that shocked the public. This discovery sparked widespread concern about the safety of everyday products. In 1977, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission acted quickly, banning Tris from use in children's sleepwear. This move was a major step forward in ensuring consumer safety and set the stage for increased scrutiny of chemicals used in fabrics. Candy cigarettes. In the 1970s, candy cigarettes were a popular treat among children, designed to closely resemble real cigarettes. These sugary snacks came in various forms: sugar sticks, bubble gum, or even chocolate, wrapped in paper that mimicked the look of an actual cigarette pack. Some brands even went so far as to release small puffs of powdered sugar or cornstarch when blown on, giving kids the illusion of smoke. At first glance, it seemed like a harmless, playful candy. But as time went on, the potential dangers of candy cigarettes became clear. While they were marketed as innocent fun, critics quickly pointed out that these treats subtly promoted smoking. The resemblance to real cigarettes was too close for comfort, especially as research began to show a disturbing pattern. Studies indicated that children who frequently enjoyed candy cigarettes were more likely to pick up the habit of smoking real cigarettes later in life. The connection between candy cigarettes and the normalization of tobacco use in young people was hard to ignore. As awareness of tobacco's health risks grew, public health advocates began to speak out against candy cigarettes, arguing that they were a gateway to smoking. Anti-smoking movements gathered momentum, and by the 1980s, many countries and states took action, either banning or strictly regulating candy cigarettes. This shift marked an important victory in reducing the influence of tobacco on children and in the larger effort to combat smoking-related health issues. Thalidomide. Developed in the 1950s and widely prescribed through the 1970s, thalidomide was marketed as a safe and effective sedative, and later as a treatment for morning sickness in pregnant women. Doctors and pharmaceutical companies aggressively promoted it, claiming it was a harmless way to relieve nausea for expectant mothers. This led to its widespread use, with millions of women taking the drug around the world in the belief that it was safe for both them and their babies. However, the reality of thalidomide's effects soon turned into a heartbreaking tragedy. It became painfully clear that the drug had a devastating impact on fetal development. Thalidomide caused severe and irreversible birth defects in thousands of babies. Many of these children were born with horrific limb abnormalities, such as missing or severely shortened arms and legs. In addition to these physical deformities, other serious congenital disabilities also emerged, affecting the children's lives in ways that would last forever. The scale of the thalidomide disaster sent shockwaves through the world, as families faced unimaginable hardships in caring for their children, whose lives had been forever altered due to inadequate drug testing and oversight. In response to the growing public outrage, governments around the world took swift action. Thalidomide was banned, and its legacy led to a complete overhaul of pharmaceutical testing and approval processes, marking a pivotal moment in the history of drug safety and regulation. DDT. In the 1970s, DDT was hailed as a groundbreaking solution for pest control, used widely in agriculture and public health to fight against crop pests and dangerous mosquito-borne diseases like malaria. This chemical was initially celebrated as a miracle, a powerful tool in the battle against insects. Its widespread use seemed to promise a future where pests could be kept under control and deadly diseases could be wiped out. But as time passed, the rosy picture surrounding DDT began to unravel. Scientists started noticing disturbing environmental side effects that were too severe to ignore. DDT didn't just stay in the environment. It built up in the food chain, poisoning everything from insects to larger wildlife like birds and fish. One of the most shocking consequences was the decline in populations of birds, including the iconic bald eagle. DDT weakened their eggshells, preventing successful reproduction and pushing these species to the brink of extinction. The effects of DDT didn't stop at wildlife. Studies also linked long-term human exposure to serious health problems like cancer, liver damage, and reproductive disorders. As the evidence mounted, public outcry grew, especially after the release of Rachel Carson's groundbreaking book, Silent Spring, which raised widespread awareness of the dangers of DDT. In response, the U.S. government took swift action and banned DDT in 1972, setting an important precedent for environmental protection. Cyclamates. In the 1960s and early 1970s, cyclamates became one of the most popular artificial sweeteners, showing up in diet sodas, candies, and a wide range of processed foods. These calorie-free substitutes were hailed as a breakthrough for people trying to manage their weight or control their blood sugar levels, especially those living with diabetes. With no calories to worry about, cyclamates seemed like the perfect solution for those looking to satisfy their sweet tooth without the guilt. But the excitement surrounding cyclamates was short-lived. The turning point came when scientific research started to raise red flags. Studies found a troubling link between cyclamates and bladder cancer in laboratory rats. These findings sparked widespread concern about the safety of these sweeteners, with many wondering if the same risks applied to humans. As fears about their potential cancer-causing effects grew, the debate became heated and public trust began to erode. In response to the mounting anxiety, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, took swift action and banned cyclamates in 1970, marking a major shift in food safety policy. This controversy didn't just end with cyclamates. It led to more stringent regulations for artificial sweeteners overall. It also pushed manufacturers to search for safer alternatives like aspartame and saccharin. While some countries still allow cyclamates, they remain banned in the United States. Do you think we still have dangerous products lurking in our lives today? What should we be watching out for now? Chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. In the 1970s, Chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, were celebrated as a technological marvel. These chemicals were found in everything from aerosol sprays to refrigerators and air conditioners. Their stability and efficiency in cooling made them perfect for modern life, offering convenience and comfort. CFCs seemed to be the ideal solution for a wide range of applications, and for many years their benefits were hard to dispute. But the excitement around CFCs quickly turned to concern when scientists made a shocking discovery. Once released into the atmosphere, these chemicals traveled up to the stratosphere, where they began to break down ozone molecules. Ozone is crucial because it forms an invisible protective layer around the Earth, shielding life from harmful ultraviolet UV rays. The destruction of this ozone layer had severe consequences, including an increase in skin cancer, cataracts, and damage to ecosystems that depended on balanced UV exposure. The most alarming evidence came in the form of a massive hole in the ozone layer over Antarctica, a clear sign that CFCs were having devastating effects. Public concern mounted, and the urgency of the situation led to international collaboration. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol was signed, marking a groundbreaking agreement to phase out CFC production worldwide. This collective effort helped mitigate the damage and started the process of ozone layer recovery. While CFCs are now banned in most countries, their lingering impact remains, and scientists continue to monitor the ozone layer. The fight to restore it continues, reminding us of the importance of global cooperation in addressing environmental threats. Ephedra, Huang. In the 1970s, ephedra, also known as Huang, became a key ingredient in many popular weight loss pills and energy supplements. Derived from the ephedra plant, this powerful substance contained ephedrine alkaloids that stimulated the nervous system, increased metabolism, and promoted fat burning. It was marketed as a miracle solution for people trying to lose weight and as a performance enhancer for athletes looking to boost their energy levels. Ephedra quickly gained popularity in the health and fitness world, with many seeing it as the answer to their weight loss and energy struggles. However, as ephedra's use spread, troubling reports about its side effects began to surface. Users started experiencing a range of dangerous symptoms, including elevated blood pressure, rapid heartbeats, dizziness, and strokes. In some extreme cases, individuals suffered from sudden cardiac arrest. These serious health risks led to tragic, high-profile cases that sparked public outrage and resulted in a flood of lawsuits. Scientific studies confirmed that ephedra posed significant health risks, particularly when combined with intense physical exercise or other stimulants. These findings led to increased scrutiny, and ultimately, in 2004, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, stepped in and banned ephedra entirely. This was a rare move, as dietary supplements were typically not subject to such strict regulation. Mercury thermometers. In the 1970s, mercury thermometers were a common household item, used by nearly everyone to check for fevers and monitor body temperature. Their slender glass design and high accuracy made them a trusted tool in homes, schools, and medical offices alike. But behind that seemingly simple design, there was a hidden danger: liquid mercury. When a mercury thermometer broke, the mercury inside could spill out and quickly evaporate into the air as a toxic vapor. Even small amounts of these fumes posed significant health risks, especially to children. Prolonged exposure to mercury vapor could lead to serious issues like neurological disorders, kidney damage, and developmental delays. And the danger didn't stop when the thermometer broke. Disposing of these items improperly often meant sending toxic mercury into landfills, where it could contaminate water supplies and harm wildlife for years to come. As scientific research and public awareness grew, the environmental and health risks of mercury became undeniable. Governments around the world began taking action, phasing out mercury thermometers in favor of safer alternatives. By the early 2000s, most countries had implemented strict regulations or outright bans on mercury thermometers. They were replaced by digital or alcohol-based thermometers, which are far safer for both people and the environment. Lawn darts. If you've ever played with the soft, plastic-tipped darts that are common today, you know how safe and fun the game can be for kids. But in the 1970s, lawn darts were a far different story. These darts were large, heavy, and had sharp steel tips, turning what was supposed to be a fun backyard game into something dangerously close to a weapon. The adult version of lawn darts was marketed as a recreational activity, but it didn't take long for the public to realize that these darts were more hazardous than they first appeared. The combination of weight and sharp metal tips made lawn darts extremely dangerous, particularly during social gatherings where alcohol was often involved. Impaired judgment combined with these heavy, sharp projectiles led to a growing number of accidents. Emergency rooms started filling up with victims of lawn dart injuries, many of which were severe: skull punctures, brain trauma, and, tragically, even fatalities. The erratic nature of the throws or the careless mishandling of the darts resulted in life-threatening injuries that shocked the public. As the injury reports continued to mount, the outrage grew. Advocacy groups and concerned citizens pushed hard for change, demanding safety regulations. By the early 1980s, after several heartbreaking incidents, lawn darts were banned in many countries. Today, the only versions of lawn darts available are ones with blunt, safer tips, ensuring that backyard fun no longer carries the same dangerous risks as it did back in the 1970s. Chrysler Turbine Car. In the 1970s, the Chrysler Turbine Car captured the imagination of the public with its groundbreaking design and futuristic technology. Unlike any car on the road at the time, this vehicle didn't run on regular gasoline. It was capable of operating on jet fuel, diesel, or even alcohol. The heart of the turbine car was its gas turbine engine, which had fewer moving parts than traditional internal combustion engines. This innovation promised lower maintenance costs and was accompanied by a distinctive, almost otherworldly sound that intrigued car enthusiasts and drew attention wherever the car went. Despite its futuristic allure, the turbine car had significant drawbacks that ultimately led to its demise. One of the most pressing issues was its exhaust, which emitted extreme heat. So much heat that it could melt or ignite nearby objects, creating a serious fire hazard. On top of that, the turbine engine released high levels of pollutants, which raised environmental concerns at a time when air quality was becoming an increasingly urgent issue. Performance also posed a challenge. The car had sluggish acceleration and poor fuel economy, making it impractical for everyday use. While the turbine car showcased impressive innovation, it simply couldn't compete with more efficient and environmentally friendly alternatives. Chrysler only produced 50 prototypes, most of which were destroyed to protect proprietary technology. Although the Chrysler Turbine Car remains a fascinating piece of automotive history, its environmental and safety challenges made it an impractical choice for mass production. What do you think? Did I miss any dangerous 1970s inventions? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, check out the rest of the series and don't forget to subscribe and share Pass Not Pass with a friend. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.